Hello everyone, Caren Glasser here, and welcome to this episode of The Passion Point. This is the show where we interview passionistas from around the world who are following their passion and making a living doing what they love. And today, our special guest is Carol Pilkington. And Carol works with adults, usually 40 and over, I guess that makes the rest of us kind of old, who have achieved a certain level of career success, but still feel a void. And, they're kind of like not satisfied in their lives anymore. What they've known and are familiar is no longer satisfying or even matters to them. They're seeking a deeper meaning and purpose. Now, Carol's training actually is very unique in that it covers a very eclectic background in many different modalities and holistic systems and teachings, and it has provided her with a wealth of different sources from which to draw data and metaphysical principles and concepts to introduce to her clients and students. She teaches people how to contemplate and go deeper into the nature of a subject matter to arrive at answers based on experience, not necessarily intellect. And so today we're going to go deeper with Carol as we welcome her to the show. Carol, how are you? Welcome to the Passion Point.
Thank you so much, Caren. I really appreciate you having me.
Well, we're really glad you're here, and you have so many different things that you are involved with and that you teach and that you work with your clients. We're going to have a very robust conversation, I'm sure. And we always like to start the show, though, with the definition of passion. Now, Webster's dictionary says that passion is an intense, driving, or overmastering feeling or conviction. That's what Webster says. What does Carol say? What's passion?
That's a good question. And I think that passion for me is really being in tune with who we really are and living from that place with passion. It's not necessarily what we do in the world or we have a cause, but it's really about living our life from a place of passion.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
That's really a great answer. And so within that framework, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your journey. How did you go through all of this training and teaching and studying and learning so that you could be who you became today? Did you just like roll out of bed when you were 5 years old and decided you want to do this?
Yeah, close. I actually felt that I came into the world with the natural inquiring nature. I always wanted to know how did I get here? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And so we are asking those questions, I think, naturally when we're kids. We're always wondering where we came from. And so I took those questions a little bit deeper and really have been asking them all my life. And I've always wanted to be of service in some way, shape, or form. I didn't know what that was going to look like or how it was going to manifest, but I think that I came in really deeply asking those questions about human existence.
So think back, when was your first position or job that actually pushed you to that next level, working in this environment?
I would say formally probably about 14 to 15 years ago when I really was on my own deeper quest. I'd been involved with metaphysics and learning more about myself and the nature of being for 30 years or so, but it wasn't until I found a teacher about 15 years ago that really helped me go to the next level of my own evolutionary process. And as that occurred, and I experienced more and more, and you could say uncovered the layers of my own, but I uncovered my own blocks and belief systems so that I could either accept them or not, or just allow for them to be there. But I discovered my own knowing about life and about being here and who I am from a deep level. And so I think it's probably about 15 years ago that I really took to this work on a very serious level, and now I'm wanting to give back and help others discover why they're here, and that they live with a sense of purpose and knowing that they're here to make a difference.
So if somebody comes to see you and wants to work with you, how do you start? I mean, how do you decide which modality you're going to use with them, or which particular direction you're going to actually, because you do a lot of things and you have a lot of expertise, so to speak. So what would be the first thing? Let's say I wanted to come and work with you. I heard all about you. I wanted to come work with you. Where would we start? How do you start this exactly?
I think sometimes people come to me for an astrological consultation, and I incorporate my spiritual experience into that. I call it psycho-spiritual astrology. And so I incorporate it all, sometimes without people even realizing that I am doing that. I might introduce them to a meditation practice that I do, a technique, and from there we discover the nature of mindfulness, because I think meditation, people have this idea about meditation that it's just a technique and to help people quiet the mind. The only thing about that is that we have to know what's in the mind and how the mind works to actually move toward quieting the mind. And so meditation is not just a technique, it's an actual way of being and living in the world on a day-to-day basis in a mindful way. So I work with people in that way as well.
Let's delve deeper in that, because the mindfulness revolution, for lack of a better word, that is really coming into play now. If you go onto Amazon, you go into bookstores and online, you're seeing mindfulness. You are seeing this concept of mindfulness, and I myself have done a little bit of studying with John Cabot. I think that's how you pronounce his name, K-A-B-A-T, where I've done some reading and some studying, and I find personally for myself, because I'm an A-type personality and I have a hard time really slowing myself down because I'm just go, 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 and it was suggested I try mindfulness. Is that something that you suggest to people that can't seem to slow down?
Yeah, actually meditation seems to be kind of a buzzword with regards to, oh, now I have to incorporate this into my day-to-day life. I have so much on my plate already. How am I going to, how do I schedule in meditation as well? So that can be a very daunting thing. And what I introduce is more of a mindfulness practice, and that can be incorporated in everything that we do, in the way we relate to people. So it's really about understanding what those two things are and the distinctions, but also know that they're one and the same. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a paradox, if you will.
I was actually told that the first thing that I should do is practice breathing, and literally. And that was so difficult, I can't even tell you. You breathe in for a certain amount of seconds, and then you hold it, and then you exhale through your mouth. And when I was told to do this, I was told that it may be very uncomfortable, and so if you need to stop, it's okay, but you want to just keep doing it. What is it that's so hard about focusing on our breath?
That's a good question. I think that people have so much mind chatter that they find it difficult to focus on anything. And we're in a go, go, go culture that makes it difficult. And we try and, we think that we have to do it for long periods of time for it to take hold. But if we can do something for 5 minutes a day, we eat breakfast, pay attention to the way we pick up the fork and bring it to our mouth. We can slow things down in very, very small ways, and that really can increase our mindfulness and our ability to focus. I have this one technique that I give people sometimes, and It's called the clock exercise, where if you have a clock with a sweeping second hand, it's the kind of hand, the second hand that just kind of goes around without the tick, tick, tick.
Right, right.
If you watch that go around for 5 minutes, you can really see how busy the mind is. And some people love it, some people hate it. Some people who understand that, oh, this is the only thing I have to do is watch that second hand go around. I can do that. Some people, it's like the nails on a chalkboard.
That's me. That's me. Literally after, I could do the breathing thing for a total of maybe one time through, and then my head is already going, okay, how much longer do I have to do this? And it starts chattering in my head. That clock thing, I literally just started to have a panic attack. But that's me. That's me. But it's a great exercise, and I'm going to put it in our notes here so that when I have the show up and people want to read the notes that I put in, and do take a look at the notes, because we're going to have some exercises that Carol suggested, and give them a try. I mean, why not? So you talked about astrology, and specifically astrology as a holistic system for understanding one's own evolutionary process. What exactly does that mean?
That's really great. So when as I've been studying astrology and incorporating it into my own livingness, it's really about the evolution of our being. So we have the 12 houses, we have the 12 signs, and that circle actually represents unity. And each house has a significance of areas of life that we've come in to learn lessons about, and where the planets are placed in those houses, and the connections that the planets make in our natal chart, all have significance as to the lessons that we've incarnated to learn and the areas of life that we've come in to learn about, whether it's relationships, whether it's work life, whether it's who we are going to be in the world, all kinds of things like that. So it's about our own evolutionary process and living our fullest potential in life.
So I don't know if you're in this field, so you probably have noticed it. I have noticed more and more people that are putting themselves out there as astrologists, as Akashic readers, the soul records. There seems to be this, in my mind, a rebirth of something that for a long time, at least in my world, a lot of people thought was a lot of hocus pocus. And I am seeing more and more people that are going into this. What do you think is the motivating reason for that? Is it the world that we live in? People are looking for a way to feel better about this world that we're living in?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think we're looking for alternative ways of understanding who we are, that traditional ways aren't necessarily the only way or the way for each individual. And as these different modalities come into existence and to the forefront, people are more open to exploring what they can provide one in their life. And I think that's really important. I think we're in a different age. I would say over the past 15 to 20 years, that's actually been changing. And it's really nice to see.
Yeah, I actually, for all that in my past life, and I don't mean in my real past life, but in the past, maybe 20 years ago, I was like, what is this? I mean, this is just, I come from that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not, well, the stars and the astrology, it just was not. But I find myself gravitating to it, and I find myself wondering, do I do certain things, or is the world a certain way, and the way I'm in it, is it because of all of these other things? And I think that people are starting to search for that, and that's where you come in, and that's where people like you come in. So how do people work with you? I mean, you have your website listed up there, and tell us a little bit about where they're going to go when they actually go to that link.
That link takes them to my book that's coming out. It's called The Amazing Itty Bitty Book of Astrology, 15 Key Questions People Ask About Astrology. That's my first book, and it's kind of a foundational book to get people familiar with how astrology came about, where it comes from, how it's separated from astronomy, because astronomy and astrology used to be one, and how it's gotten such a bad rap over the years, and all kinds of things like that. So that's a foundational book, and over the next year or two, I'll be writing other books that go more into the nature of astrology and signs and all those, the things that people generally look for and want to know about.
So when is it coming out?
It's coming out hopefully in May. We're into the second wave of edits, so I'm really excited about that. So I'm looking forward probably to mid to end of May.
That's very exciting, and congratulations on that. And we'll make sure to put information and even go back in and put information when the book does come out. So they're going to go to the site, and it's 15...
It's 15 questions people ask about astrology.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So what do you tell people that come to you and say, because I'm all about passion, and they say, I don't even know what my passion is. I'm unemployed now. I got laid off. I got fired. I can't find a job. And I just don't know what I want to do. I can't even think about what I'm passionate about enough to even step into that. What do you say to people, or not, to people that say, I don't even know what to do?
I often just ask them to look inside and just come to an understanding. It's really about coming to an understanding about who they are and what makes their heart sing. Another way of putting it is, what makes your heart sing? And when people start having conversations, you can see their eyes light up. And so that's the time to really pay attention to the kinds of things that people are interested in and that give them a feeling of being alive. And sometimes it's not very obvious, and it takes time when they've been so identified with one area of life that to help them move and understand the nature of the identity and where to find the deeper thing that makes them feel alive, that really connects to their soul.
That's great answer. Great answer. Love that. I love what you said, makes your heart sing. I actually use that very same expression. What is it that makes your heart sing? And when you say that, do people go, oh, yeah, okay. Do you use vision boards? Are you a vision board person?
I'm not. I think they're fantastic, and it's a really great way because people are visual. I think that's a really, really wonderful way to ignite some stirrings inside to bring that more to the forefront, to see what they're really excited about.
You know what I do, Carol? I actually encourage people to go over to Pinterest.
That's a great idea.
And look at the pictures, because there is so much there that something is bound to jump out at you. And it's not a vision board, of course, but it's going to jump out, and something might just, alert you to, oh, I like that. I like cooking. How do you feel about that?
I think that's fantastic. But I think people will want to go a little bit deeper. It's not just about the things that we do out in the world. It's really more about the deeper meaning of life. What does life mean to me? What makes me feel like I have a purpose here?
And as we get older, I think those things change. Maybe change, not necessarily completely change to something different, but change for the more in-depth, change for more what's in your heart. I know I'm 58 years old, and what I thought I was passionate about just even 20 years ago or 15 years ago, of course you're right, this is your field, right on the money, because now I find myself focusing on what makes my heart sing rather than something that I was told I was supposed to do.
Exactly. I think that's so important.
So I love quotes. I love quotes. Every morning I go on a mad hunt in every social media platform that I can get into to see who's saying what and what just pops out at me. And today the quote that I found was this, and it's anonymous. If you can't stop thinking about it, don't stop working for it. I love that. It's so simple, right? If you can't stop thinking about it, maybe that's your passion, and you start working. What is a favorite quote of yours?
Mine is a quote from Carl Jung. It's free will. Free will is gladly doing that which I must do.
Right in line with passion.
Exactly.
Right? I like you, Carol. You can come on anytime you want. You are right. You're right on the money there. So okay, so this is kind of a silly statement, but actually not. And I've been compiling this over the past couple of years. If you could spread passion dust anywhere in the world, on anyone in the world, who would you spread it on, and what would you hope to accomplish?
I would spread it on those that are really going through a life-altering transition, usually people between 40 and 60 that are kind of lost, and those are the people that I'm so passionate about assisting and helping, because they're at that point of beginning to ask those questions that we were talking about at a deeper level, so that they can rediscover even, what life means to them, so that they can live from that place no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing from that moment on.
So we're gonna let people know how they can contact you. They can go to your website, obviously, carolpilkington.com, and if you want to go to the slash that's there, you can also then go and get the 15 questions. I'm getting old, about astrology. And any last things that you'd like to share with our audience as to how they can connect with you, why they should connect with you, and anything that you want to share at this point?
I would love to work with people out there that are in some kind of inquiry process. It really is helpful to have somebody there to bounce things off of and to be heard and seen. I think one of the things that I find in life when I talk to people is most people don't feel heard and they don't feel seen enough. And so they're really hungry for that. And I would just say, reach out. We can't transform in a vacuum, or else all of us would be living in an ashram someplace. We're social beings, and we need one another to evolve and transform. And so I would say, don't feel like you have to do it all by yourself and alone. You're not alone. A lot of the things that we feel are universal, and that's one of the things about astrology that's really unique, that's really amazing, is that it's archetypal in nature. So what that means is that it reveals the universal behaviors of human nature.
Well, as we're a global show, we're watched all around the world. Do you do this virtually? So if somebody wanted to work with you, but they live in Australia, can they connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. I can do it through Skype. I can do it on the phone. I can do it through Google Hangouts. So yes, absolutely.
Isn't technology amazing?
It is.
I mean, literally, we reach right out and we touch people that are obviously not in our own backyard. They're all over the place, and yet we feel like we know them because we are sitting in front of a camera, or in front of a microphone, Skype, you name it. And it's amazing how that brings people together. What is your feeling about this? And it's another question. I know I was going to get ready to end, but it's another question about taking your online relationships offline. How important is that?
I think to some degree it's really important. The technology has given us the ability to reach out across oceans, but by the same token, I think in-person relating is very valuable as well. When we meet face-to-face, physically, I think that's important too. It all has its value. But when we can talk like this, that's that's the second best thing to being able to physically meet one another.
I totally agree with that. And in many respects, I will say online versus offline. Offline can almost be like this because we are looking at each other. I talk with my hands, obviously. We have the tonality, we hear the words, we hear the actual expression as we're talking. And so I think that if it's impossible to go to Australia tomorrow to meet with a prospective client or somebody that you've met on social media, this is the next best thing.
Exactly. I agree.
Well, I want to thank you, Carol, for being on with us because, as we know, people have a choice as to how to spend their time, and we are so grateful that our listeners and our viewers have chosen to spend their time with us. As I always say, I hope that you go out and give someone an awesome day, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of The Passion Point. Goodbye, everyone.